Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to Rose City, the After Show, the podcast where we dive into the world of the popular novel Rose City by author Corenna Khieu. And each episode, we will be discussing a different aspect of the book, from the complex characters to the intricate plot twists and everything in between. Make sure to check out Rose City on Kindle Vella to stay up to date with everything that's going on, of course, as we explore these unique perspectives and insights on the story. Today, we will start off with Commotion from Cassii A.
Born in Chester, Pennsylvania, Autumn Lockwood, a 29-year-old sports conditioning coach with the NFL Philadelphia Eagles, has made history as the first Black woman to ever coach in the Super Bowl. The assistant sports performance coach has brought an infectious positive attitude to the Eagles in her first season. Eagles linebacker Christian Ellis says, she has taken the kindness approach to her day-to-day interactions with the players. From the field to the weight room, he has never seen her angry, maintaining a consistent level of joy each day, no matter the circumstance. To make the moment even more memorable, Lockwood made history in the state that played a role in her sports career. She played soccer at the University of Arizona, graduating with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice in 2015. Lockwood went on to receive her master's degree in sports management from East Tennessee State University in 2020. So shout out to Autumn Lockwood. We love to see our women out here taking up space. If you would like to learn more about Autumn and her achievements, we will leave a link in the description. And now I will pass it over to Corwin for our quote of the day.
The quote of the day is by Voltaire. People that will make you believe absurdities will make you commit atrocities. Let's apply that to our everyday lives and how we cook our Valentine's Day Eve meal this evening, ladies. Now on to Corenna Khieu.
Can we talk about your quote for a second? What did you interpret that as?
Well, it was, I believe the quote was from the 1700s, I believe, maybe a little bit before that. So it's kind of an old quote, but it is very true. And you could apply it to Nazi Germany, where somebody, i.e. Hitler, led the people to believe absurdities about a particular culture. And then the people were okay with committing atrocities. We have seen that in South Africa play out with the folks that had inhabited that land since the beginning, since the beginning of time, and because of it, the folks in South Africa were treated like animals because because the colonizers told each other that the people down there really aren't human beings, and so we don't really have to respect them or honor them or treat them with any kind of dignity, and they actually don't even feel pain. The same thing happened here in America during the slave trade, where white Americans just believed that slaves didn't feel pain, so a number of slaves were handed over for medical experimentation to find out about skin grafts and the effects of burns on skin, so they would inflict unspeakable horrors on the people. But that's getting a little bit heavy on the love day, and especially with my chocolate brown shirt on and my outside velvety red cover. But yeah, that's what it means to me, Miss Khieu.
Well, thank you very much for giving us some deeper insight into your thoughts. You know, you guys, before we get too deep off into the book, because I think that I will forget some of my initial questions that I wanted to ask you guys, because it is Valentine's Day. See how my little balloons and stuff, and I had myself a little red rose. Also, let's talk just for a quick second. Give me your best or your worst Valentine's Day stories. I wanted to do that before this. Who wants to go first? Corwin, I think you probably have some good stories.
Well, that was harsh. Honestly, I like to spend Valentine's Day out of state if I can, with honey buns. So it just depends on what's going on. I think that my worst Valentine's Day was probably that I didn't have something to go home and snuggle up to at night. I gotta be honest with you, man. There's nothing like laying up with something soft. But so I would say that's probably the worst.
The way you said laying up with something soft, as if it was just anything, like it wasn't an actual person, wasn't a human, just laying up with something.
Nah, Mr. Bailey, nah. And no, and I don't mean it like that, but I'm gonna be honest with you. And most men will tell you this: at the end of a hard day of working a legit job or being a street dude, whatever your character is, whatever your way of making that dollar is, everybody likes to go home to a good meal and something soft. So that's just how it is. Yeah. And if you're in prison, I guess that you can get both, I guess, in the same hour, but that's another conversation.
Okay, so a story or like a feeling like Cohen did.
Whatever you want to share.
I'll share a good Valentine's Day. It's actually with I guess the first time me and my marriage situation decided to become intimate. Let's go there. Okay, so this is back in 2006. Let's see. Oh crap. Okay. So we're dating or whatever. We were talking for a little while, and then we decided on Valentine's Day we were going to spend it with each other, and it would be our first time like together or whatever. So there was no pre-planning that went into this other than we just wanted to be with each other. So of course he was out of state when he came to come see me. Everything was booked up. All the restaurants were booked up or whatever. So I'm just like, okay, let's just find some food. And back then, I don't know if you guys remember, but Flavor of Love was like all the rage. Everybody watched that show. And when I found out he did, I was like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to the hotel and we're gonna get some food, and we just gonna just be together. We don't have to do nothing expensive, extravagant, whatever. We couldn't anything anyways because everything was booked up. So of course we both were driving, so I was like, okay, I'll meet you, at the hotel, whatever, right? And he's like, no, I'm gonna come pick you up. So he came to pick me up, and then when we got to the hotel, he was sweet. He had my little overnight bag and everything. We got into the room and he had rose petals on the floor already. Yeah, he had balloons. He had rose petals going from the floor to the bed, and then in the bed, and he had a teddy bear and chocolate and basket, and he found Chinese food somewhere. So he already had the food set up, the drinks, everything. And I was like, So of course, we did what we do. And then afterwards we just we cuddled, watched Flavor of Love, and went for round two.
I mean, my man,
Yes.
He really brought up the status of the Motel 6.
He did. I don't think I required much, but it was just a thought. And then, yeah, sure enough, 2 years later, we ended up getting married.
So the Dollar Chinese and the Motel 6.
It wasn't Dollar Chinese. I don't know where he found it, but it wasn't because I know that stuff. It's full of food dye. Yeah. No, whatever, Colin. That's what you would do. But it was good. It was good. We ate, we did what we did, and had a great time. Woke up the next day and got dinner. So
I absolutely love that story. That's awesome.
That's my story.
Let's go for round 3 too. Kyrie, would you like to share something, good or bad?
So I have been thinking, and I really cannot remember any other Valentine's Day. So I just talk about, today. I wasn't expecting anything. We celebrated a couple of nights ago. The grandparents came and got the kids, and we spent the day together, and we went to lunch and stuff. So I really wasn't expecting anything today. And I'm like the one that gets up super early in the morning. So I think I had got up like at 4:30 this morning, and I went to start my coffee, and then I see like, what's in the dark, a dark room, but then you see like a mysterious shadow that kind of just makes you, step back a little bit. And so I was going to sit in my spot, and I seen like a little shadow by the door. And so I was like, okay. And so when I turned the light on, it was flowers and a big mug with a teddy bear in it, and a few pieces of Reese's peanut butter cup. And oh, he left his phone sitting there with a piece of paper on it saying, "Unlock my phone and play the first video." And so I did that, and it was a message from my husband telling me how much he loved me and appreciate me, and just I'll leave out the other details, but it was really sweet. So it makes it even more sweet when you don't expect something, and then poof, there it is. So it was really nice. So I enjoyed that today.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I was hoping that it wasn't going to get off into a home invasion story, but yeah, I mean, it turned out okay.
Okay, so my favorite Valentine's Day, I've really never had a bad Valentine's Day. I've been with T for ever at this point. So, anyways, I was thinking back, like, what was like one that really kind of stood out. So he took me to this restaurant in Portland. It's called Chart House, and any one of you who've ever been there, you know that it's a really, really nice restaurant, and it sits on this like hill by like a cliff, and it really overlooks the entire city at nighttime. And so he specifically asked for us to have a table, by the window so that we could just, view, the outside and look at the city and eat our food. So we were there, and he had always made it a point, because anybody who knows my husband, he's a great guy, but he can pinch a penny, right? And so he really can, my God. And so he was just like, tonight, it's whatever you want to order. Like, don't feel bad. And I was like, I wasn't going to feel bad anyway. I was going for the ghost. Like, I was going for it. We was going to do what needed to be done, regardless. So he was just like, I just don't want you to feel any kind of way. I don't want there to be any hesitation. So, like, whatever you want, just like order it. And so, I just ordered my regular food because I'm not greedy. But we were there so many hours, and I didn't even realize that we just kept ordering more food and more drinks. And at one point, we looked up, and the whole restaurant was like shut down, and there was nobody else in the restaurant. And so the waiter was like, "You guys can stay. We're gonna be, clean up a little bit longer, so don't feel rushed." And I was like, "Where did everybody go?" And the waiter was like, "Oh, is this your guys' like first date or something?" And we were like, "No, we've been together like 8 years at that point." And the waiter was like, "That's kind of unusual to see people who've been together this long and really like into a conversation." And so we just enjoyed the evening. I think I had a little bit too much to drink, because I just remember I got in the car and I fell asleep, and I saw lights on the freeway. You know what I mean? So I don't remember anything else. I don't know how I got inside, but I didn't have any kids that night. So I'm sure it was a great night. I don't remember anything because the alcohol was flowing, and it was great, but fond memory of mine.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit
I bet it was a great night.
Drinking and driving, yeah.
All right.
Y'all got it in.
The blistered wife, huh? Anyway.
All right, everyone. So now it's time to get into episode 5, Friday Night, the Club Opening Part 2. This is all about Erica's traumatic life, and we're now getting an opportunity to really see what's been going on in her life and why she is the way that she is. So let's start off with Alicia. What were your thoughts on this chapter in Erica, and just getting to know a little bit more about her?
Okay, so at first I saw Erica as the villain. I didn't really like her much. And then as I read through chapter 5, I'm not excusing her behavior, but I understood it more. She went through a lot of trauma at a very young age, and the kind of trauma and stuff that she was introduced to and suffered through are the kind of things that can impact your mental health. And I mean, the way you see life in your day to day. So like I said, I'm not excusing it, but I understand it more. I understand why she's the way she is.
Thank you for your insight. What about you, Kyrie? What were your thoughts on chapter 5, reading about Erica's life and some of the things that she's experienced? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely felt for her. That's a lot to go through at a young age, so it definitely allowed me insight to why she is the way that she is, and when you've gone through a traumatic childhood and just, you've had to be hard your whole life, nobody's been there to allow you to connect with that softer side, just have a moment to relax and be a child, be a kid. You just grow up with a chip on your shoulder, especially when you see other people being able to relax and be free and, seemingly have a simpler life. So I definitely understand her rage, her anger, and her aggression. I definitely get it. But then there's a certain point, you have to come to in your life where you have to sit and self-reflect and say, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? I'm hurting the people around me. I want to keep people close. And I don't feel like she's hit that point yet. She's just raging. She's just angry and she wants to hurt whoever she can out of that, out of that anger. So.
Thank you for your insight. What about you, Corwin? I'm sure you didn't probably read anything, but from the conversation.
No, I read it. Honestly, to some degree, I did feel bad for Erica because as a father of daughters myself, I know that it's a fear that men have, and it was a fear I understand that her father had. Even though he didn't know about what was taking place. So for that regards, I certainly feel for Erica and for her father in the situation. Now, on the other side of it, say from Justin's side, well, he's like, "Where's the thoughties?" And I'm gonna be honest with you, even though people don't want to hear this, you got to have those kind of people in the world. I mean, you just got to have it, because there's always somebody with a little bit of cash that doesn't really want a relationship. And so, unfortunately, you do have men that find women who, and I hate to use this term, they are damaged goods, and they find them because they need them for those services. I mean, look at women, and this, of course, is not to all women. So let me just, in the profession, so let me throw that caveat out. But there are a lot of women that are work in strip clubs, or they do sexual type things for money and other things and whatnot, and some males, men, however you want to term them, they make the money so they can get those services and whatnot. And Justin is one of those people. He's one of those people that has the means to pay for stuff. I mean, Erica is used to having men take care of her, right? Well, at least in her adult life, right? The younger years with the pimp guy, I already don't know what his thing was. But as far as the older life, so she's now understand that she can take this pretty brown skin and these pretty brown eyes, and that now she can get what she wants. I mean, when it said that she hasn't worked a day in her life, well, dig that, sis. And here's the thing, I'm not knocking her for how she makes her money. I'm not knocking her for the fact that, she got her first place when she was like 16, and the old man was coming through. Now, I do have a problem with him because he is a pedophile. She was only a child at that time. He had no business coming over and dealing with that child. If he wanted to help her out, then help her out. I'll just say something real quick, if I may. A couple of months ago, I was asked by a female friend of mine if I could buy her some groceries because she was in need. I said, cool. And she said, well, afterwards, or even before, I say, she said, well, you can, come over and lay, and lay in the bed. And I said, well, listen, sis. And I said, listen, if you need help, I'm just here to help you. I don't need anything from you to help you out. If you are in need and you're hungry or whatever, you don't have to give your body up. So not every man who is willing to help out somebody is looking to get something from it. And I think that you all three in your relationships, whatever, if you happen to have a husband or boyfriend who you find out is paying the bills of another lady, that does not mean that he's over there doing anything he has no business. Back to you, Corenna.
No, sir. You see how he did that though? Talking about some if your husband, if your man's paying another woman's bill, doesn't mean something's going on. Why wouldn't I know? Why wouldn't we have a discussion about, hey, such and such has an issue. I don't even know who she is. And you paying her bills? You know what? I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me all riled up because you knew it was my turn. That's
No,
what
not at all. No, not at all.
Okay.
And here's the thing, right? And not that I do that myself, because I can only really afford my own bills, but I'm just saying there are some men who do take care of other women. And like I said, I'm sure that at the time, if I'd had a honey buns and whatnot, that it would have been an issue, right? For me picking up this lady and taking her to buy some groceries. Now, if she would have heard about her indecent proposal, that might have, been, oh, you're going to take her over the Spam and ham, huh? But that's not the way it was. It was just really because it was really just to just be a nice person. And that's all, But no, I don't pay anybody else's bill. So let me throw that out there before I get the Simp of the Year award.
As always, I love my big brother, but I'm done with you. Erica is a very interesting character for a lot of reasons. I did enjoy the backstory of her and just knowing more about her life, because it does give more reason and motive to why she is the way that she is. Why does she behave the way that she behaves? Let's go back to Justin for a second, because I was reading through there, and at the very end of that whole thing that happened in the bathroom, if you notice, Justin said something, and he said, "You two know each other, don't you?" And I caught that, and I was like, "So you mean the whole time you was talking and rapping with Malia, but you knew that you probably had seen Erica. You knew the connection. Malia didn't know the connection, but it was clear that Justin knew that there was a connection between Malia and Erica. And then Erica, of course, she knew the connection that she had with Malia because that's her god sister. So I thought that was really janky. Yeah, taking it back with old school words. Yeah, I thought that was really janky of him to do what he did, and then to sit up there and say, "Don't you guys know each other?" So you knew that you knew I am who I am, and you're trying to talk to me, but you also knew that you've been having a sexual relationship with my god sister. So what in the whole F are you even trying to do, sir? You're not going to run through this family. We're not doing that. Okay? We're not doing that. So, girl, make me cut up a little bit, But yeah, so I really felt bad for, I see you, Carrie. So I really felt bad for Erica. I felt bad to know that her mother despised her because she couldn't have her father. And I think that if anybody knows anything about parents playing games with children, it's a terrible thing. And her mother was in love with her father. He didn't, poor ones like me, he didn't love her back. And consequently, because he didn't love her back, she also stood in the way of him and his daughter having the type of daddy-daughter relationship that they should have had. And that's very unfortunate to know that your daughter is being sexually abused. And Lucia's mind was just not there. It was all about her and getting what she needed. And yeah, very, very traumatizing. I would definitely say, you guys, if you haven't started reading the book, definitely jump in there. We're not too far ahead so that you can't catch up with us. But chapter 5 was very traumatic. And the crazy part is you're like, sis, you the one who wrote the chapter. So why are you acting like this is weird? It is weird because in a lot of ways, I took Erica's life from other people that I know. And so Erica's kind of like a combination of like 3 people that I know. So the stories and stuff like that I'm talking about with Erica, these are real stories that I know about some people's lives and some of the things that they've suffered with. So to say like, oh, nobody's mother would ever do that. People's moms and fathers are doing these types of things to their children, and that is the unfortunate part.
Moving on to our fan questions. We have, do you think Erica's mother raised Erica similar to how she was raised? And I definitely do think, that's typical in parenting. You do what you've been taught to do. And I think now in the, our generation, we've learned that we really need to take a step back and see what doesn't work. What we didn't appreciate, what we didn't like when we were parented, and then take a new approach with our children based on the things that we want to change, you know, but really our parents and the ones that came before, they really did things in the traditional sense. I'm doing this because this is how I was taught. This is how, you know, Big Mama and Big Papa did it, you know. So I 100, when you're just, you know, in the zone of survival and you're not really trying to figure it out, you're just trying to make it through, you tend to fall into that, I'm going to do this because my mama did it. Not really looking at whether it's right or wrong, how did it affect me as a child and who I am today? You know, you're just, hey, they did it, I did it. I don't care how you feel about it, you know? And I really definitely feel like Erica's mother fell into that, you know, just, hey, it is what it is. I survived, I made it. You gonna figure it out too, baby. You know, so.
What are your thoughts, Alicia?
Okay, there we go. For mine, and the way I raised my kids, it's actually the opposite. And I know Corenna also does this as well. Stuff we didn't like growing up, not everything, but you know, certain stuff that happened to us, and we remember how we felt towards our parents. And I know, for me, my kids are my world. They're anybody that know me know I'm a mom first before anything else. And sometimes, you know, it's like, okay, I ain't worried about them, but most of the time I do, you know, worry, and I don't want them to feel that kind of anger and stuff towards me like I felt towards my mom when I felt she was being unfair. Because some stuff, if you knew Heidi Parker, she wilded out. I mean, her and El Ray did not play with me and Corenna. Okay, we were barely allowed to breathe. So and so stuff, not everything though. It's not like, oh, you know, my kids don't have any rules because I didn't like rules growing up. But you know, some stuff I've done the opposite of. So yeah, I believe that her mom raised her, you know, she did all that she knew to do. But no, I don't think that you have to do that. Sometimes you can make your, you know, make your kids better. And, you know, have a better relationship with them than you did with your parents. So you can do differently. With me, I didn't know, you know, everything. I just, sometimes I'm gonna do the opposite of what my mom did in this situation. Not with everything, but with certain stuff, you know. So yes, I think she raised her similar, you know, but I don't necessarily agree with it 100% that you have to put your kids through the same stuff you went through because you went through it. You know, that's that hurt people type thing. So that's my take.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Corwin, do you think that Lucia raised Erica in the way that maybe she was raised? Why or why not?
Unfortunately, I do think that Erica was certainly raised like her mother was raised, and which is just sad. But let's be honest about it, though, right? When people, and somebody once told me this, and it's true, when people are in their shit, they can't see the shit around them. And so I think for Erica's mother, I just think she thought, hey, this is my life. If you're going to be a part of my world, you have to really be a part of my world. Like just like the part where it said that they were now, you know, doing threesomes with Tricks and Johns and whatnot, you know, and this is horrible stuff, right? But you know, and they were doing coke together, right? You know, but then again, though, at the same time, I also kind of saw Erica's mother as this was her only way to bond with her daughter. This is the only thing that I know to do. This is all that I enjoy doing. And if you want to be down with me and you want to be a part of my life and to know me more, then you need to join in with these festivities. So I mean, it's it's awful all the way around. It's all the way around. But yeah, that's my take on it. Bond with me.
Kiri, did you want to say something?
No, I just thought that was such a wonderful point. I never thought about that. You know, people do tend to bond with another person in the same way that, you know, the same thing that they know how to do, the only thing they know how to do. You know, I've even seen that in a serial killer documentary, you know, it's hard for people to disassociate where their pleasure comes from, you know? And that was really profound, Corwin. I appreciate that insight, because in this documentary, I remember that the guy, I forget what serial killer it was, but he had found a friend in somebody, and the only thing that he knew to do was to show this other person, it was a child, how to kill, you know. But that was his attempt at bonding and connecting with someone, you know. So if we can really like hone into people's lives and, you know, what they've gone through as children, and that could be their only means of how to connect with somebody, and we might be like, oh, that's weird, buddy, you need to get some help. But they're trying, you know, like they're trying to connect. So that was deep. That was deep, Corwin. I see you. Okay, I like it.
And the thing I like about the story is that when you sit down with a person or people, everybody has a different take, everybody has different perspectives, and it really helps you to peel back those layers and begin to think about the story and the characters and the people from different dimensions and different perspectives. I do like that idea, what you were saying, Corwin. And I think that sometimes, like they say, bird of a feather flock together. Sometimes you can't be the odd one out to be around somebody, even with parents. There are some parents who will try to make their child's life mimic their life to a T, because if their child turns out better than them, different than them, then they won't even know how to love that child. I mean, it said that Lucia made Erica drop out of school, had her start doing cocaine. I think if Erica was a straight A student who didn't want to do drugs, who wasn't allowing her mother to lure her into these prostitution rings and traps, I think her mother probably would have put her out a lot earlier. I think in order for her mother to be able to tolerate her, deal with her, be around her, meant she had to look like a reflection of her mother. Her mother was like, you need to be my mini me in order for me to like you and treat you some form of humanly. Because as the child got older and she's 11 years old, instead of the mother didn't have sympathy for her daughter for being raped, you know, repeatedly. She ignored it. She ignored the screams and the cries, right? Lucia had a mantra, and that was pussy is king. She taught her daughter, if you know how to work it, you can get whatever you want to get. And it's like, who taught you this, Lucia? So I think it definitely goes back to the trauma that we see that's happening between Lucia and Erica. I think it's definitely generational. I don't see how a mother who was raised in a normal household, who's mentally sound, could turn around and do to her daughter what Lucia did to Erica. So I definitely believe that Lucia was raised in a very similar fashion and felt that what was happening with her daughter, that's normal, not a big deal.
So the next question is, Corenna, do you think Erica is aware of her traumas, or do you think she is inflicting what she knows onto others?
To be honest, I don't think that Erica fully understands her trauma. As the story progresses, you will see that Erica, the only types of real friends that she has, and I don't even know if you want to even call them friends, the only people that Erica associates herself with is other women who are scammers like herself. They have the same mentality as her. They have been raised in a similar fashion to her. So, and I say that because I don't think that she's ever sat back and realized just how damaging this whole situation has been to her life. And I think that Erica is a survivor of the street, survivor of all kind of crazy stuff, right? Having a pimp, multiple men abuse her, a mother abuse her, being raped. I mean, just the whole shebang. Like, she's a survivor. And I think that sometimes when you are in survivor mode, you don't sit back to like reflect on your life. You're just trying to make it through. You don't have time to think, wow, that was terrible. You don't even have time to think like that. You were on the move like a person on the show The Walking Dead, and you're looking for food and shelter. That's all that's on the mind, is to keep going and try to stay safe. So I do not think that Erica is very aware of everything that she's gone through, because I think that if she ever really truly took the time to sit down and reflect and realize how messed up her life would be, she would definitely need counseling, and she might even need to be on some medication, just to be completely totally honest. I do not think that she's fully aware. I think she knows that her life was unfair. I think she knows that her life was messed up. But I do not think that Erica has sat back and reflected on her life in a deep and meaningful way where the weight of her trauma has crashed down and she's like, what the hell has happened to me? What's going on? This isn't normal. Because if she did, if Erica really truly reflected on her life and her past, it would make her think differently about how she treats other people.
Now, I would like to just add in that I think that Erica is fully aware of what kind of person that she is. I don't think that she's blindsided by my mother's actions, by my actions, by whatever. I think she understands that this is a horrible way to live, but this is how I'm going to live. This is an easy way to live. And if selling my body or having to spend some time with people that I don't like are going to afford me the lifestyle that I want, then I'll take it. Because she could easily say, hey, I'm tired of having sex with that 400-pound guy, with the 10 credit cards in his wallet. But she also understands too that she doesn't want to go work at McDonald's and make the 15 bucks an hour and then come home and we can barely make her rent at her place. I mean, in the book, it said that she wore every major label that there is. She couldn't get any of that working at the Mickey D's. So what she's going to do is she knows that what she's doing isn't proper or isn't right, but she also doesn't care because it's still giving her what she wants. Last year I heard someone say something that's kind of stuck with me. Either choose a career that you love that pays you well, or choose a career that you don't like that much, but it gives you the lifestyle that you want. That is Erica, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I think Erica is aware of her behavior, but she's not aware of the trauma. And there's a thin line between there. It's seemingly the same thing, but it's a thin line between those two things, because how you can do something like, oh, I'm mad about this and I'm reacting out of my anger, and you think it's just that one thing, when there's an accumulation of things that have happened over your life since you were born, that rage is so strong. You're finally getting a moment. Like I have a hard time expressing anger, right? And so it'll take something happening to me 10 times before I explode, at the end, because I have not allowed myself to vent my anger, and so I feel like that with Erica, it's like, she's just reacting. And every single time she's reacting to what she's feeling, it's just an accumulation of things that have just been happening in her life over time, and even generations, her mother, the way her mother's been done. And I'm pretty sure, we don't know how her mother's mother parented her, how her father treated her, and those generations that came before. So it can be a buildup, of those traumas that you don't realize that you're acting out of. And like Corenna said, she is not in a place where she's taking time to sit and reflect. Why am I acting this way? What can I do to get a hold of myself? And you have to heal from those things. So.
Did you have any thoughts, Alicia? Do you think that Erica is aware of her full trauma? I know she's aware of her actions and her behavior, but do you think that on an emotional, mental, psychological level, she's connecting all these things and fully processing it, or what is your?
I believe she is aware of her trauma, but she is refusing to deal with it. She's just going to act out and she's going to do what she knows to do. So, yeah, I think she is aware. She knows what's happened to her. She knows that it's not normal, being raped and pimped out at a young age. We all know, that's not supposed to happen. But I think she's just not dealing with it. She's not, getting the help that she needs to deal with her trauma. So she ends up, for that second part of the question, inflicting what she knows on people, because she's angry and not getting the help that she needs to deal with her trauma. But I think she is aware of it, what's happened to her.
I agree. I think that Erica's aware enough of the trauma to know how to inflict pain on other people. She's angry and she's raging. She's really, really mad at what happened to her. And she feels like at this point, other people are going to suffer because I had to suffer. Alicia, the next question is for you.
Okay, so the next question, do you think Erica will ever change? While I believe it's possible for anybody who wants to change, I think right now she's comfortable with, I don't think she has the desire to change, at least right now. You know, she's doing things and sleeping with these men, and you know, to keep her lifestyle going and everything. So as of right now, I'm gonna just say, while it's possible for anyone to change, I think right now, unless she gets some serious help, I don't think, you know, she'll change. She'll probably end up, you know, eventually, you know, getting pregnant and then traumatizing her child the way her mother did her, if she doesn't get help. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off our cuz over there. Yes, she is right, and I was thinking that same thing too. Erica is never going to change and whatnot, but I do think she is going to eventually get. Yeah, I do think that she eventually is going to get the gutful, and then when she does, then she's just going to perpetuate the same life. I do, however, think that she would protect her child if she ever did get a baby. I think she would do a better job than her mother, because whatever problems that Erica has, she's not on drugs. She gets high on money and the luxury items, but she doesn't get high on dope.
She's on coke, right? If I read right.
She on coke?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's in love with the coca, you know, but I still
like the
don't think
booger sugar.
So as of right now, the book hasn't dealt with is Erica currently on drugs, but she was definitely doing cocaine at a very early age with her mother.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was still ongoing or if that was something that just was in her younger years.
It's to be seen.
I'm thinking if she didn't get any help and she's still living the same lifestyle, those drugs that numbed her out, you know, to let her be able to do this, you know, do this lifestyle. I'm not saying that, you know, I don't think she's definitely doing this mess sober. If it's not drugs, at least drinking. Nope, I don't. That's my little take. I'm gonna mute myself.
I definitely agree with that, Alicia. Like living that lifestyle, you definitely need something to keep you going, you know? But as far as will Erica ever change, I do believe that people can change, but rock bottom looks different to everybody, you know? It just depends on what she decides rock bottom is for her, you know, because what is rock bottom for me, some people will be like, oh, hold my purse, you know, I can go a little bit lower, you know, and I've seen people just be hit with an unimaginable thing that I'm like, okay, now they're going to get it together for real this time because, you know, I mean, I just couldn't imagine going lower. And they like, oh, hold my mule, pass me a shovel, you know? And so but she can make that decision for herself. There's no way that we will be able to figure out what she's going to decide for herself. I hope she does, because I truly believe that, you know, she is surrounded by people that can be beneficial to her, can help her progress in life. And, you know, if she would open up about the things that happened to her, people will sympathize with that. You know, they'll have compassion and say, okay, baby, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea what happened to you. let's get you the counseling you need, and call me if you're having a hard day, so we can help you towards a better life. But Erica's gonna have to decide that for herself.
I agree. I think that change is something that you have to want. And is it impossible for Erica to change? No, it's not impossible for Erica to change. But I will say that changing is something that Erica's going to have to want to do. Um, she doesn't have a mom around, clearly, like, where's her mother's support system? Growing up, I didn't see that Erica had a grandmother or other siblings or, aunts and uncles and people like from her mom's side of the family who were there, or even her dad's side of the family. Okay. So if Erica wants to change, it's going to be something that she has to wake up one day and say, I don't really like this person that I am, because she doesn't have the support system from her biological family to push her and say, you're better than this. I met a man when I was 14 years old after my dad died. And he was actually telling it to me and my brother in front of the funeral home. He said, I used to be on drugs. And I was like, oh, okay, And he said, your father would see me and he would bring me a sandwich, or he would give me something, or he would buy me a donut from 7-Eleven. And this man said, for years, your father would drop off this food to me and he would say, you're better than this. You're better than this. One day you're going to get off this junk, but you're better than this. And he said, I wish your dad would have lived a little bit longer so he could see that I took his words to heart, that I was better than this. And he did get off the street. He got himself a job, his own home, and he left that stuff alone. But what I'm saying is, so Alicia, I think you might need to cut off your computer, or not the computer, but the.
Oh, snap. I mean, cousin was doing a cold little move, wasn't she?
I get a little too fat. Yeah, all right now. But that's what I'm saying, that sometimes it's like, you have to allow people's words to penetrate your heart, your spirit, and your soul. You have to let people's words sometimes push you and resign or whatever in your head, like, be that noise. You need to hear something telling you you're better than this. And hopefully Erica makes that change. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to say that the pathway that she's on is very dangerous. It might all seem like fun now, men and cars and clothes and just different types of things like this and money. But that's a very dangerous life to live. To do the things that she does, she doesn't care about who gets hurt in the process. Erica is all about Erica. And if you get in Erica's way, Erica will mow you down. But there's some other people out in these streets that if you get in their way, they'll mow you down. So the streets are a crazy place, but I would love to hope for her to have that change. I know it'll be hard because, like I said, she doesn't have that necessary support system. But as I also pointed out, it could be the kindness of a stranger who sees you on the side of the corner who says you're better than this. You have to let those words, penetrate you to a point where you're like, yeah, I am better than this. Next question.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and just like, you could be in your lowest, darkest moment, and it's like the things that people have said to you over the years you didn't necessarily hear, and that stranger could come and just say, you got this, you're stronger than this, and you can make it. And you may not know that person from Adam, but that was the moment that you were ready to receive it, so I really have hope for Erica. Let's hope, because if she don't, I hope Malia beat her tail down anyways. Next question. What is Erica's relationship with her father? In my understanding of the story, she doesn't have one. I think her father is in love with another woman, and that was kind of where his focus got taken to. And then when you partner that with a problematic baby mama, and they're just, you trying to be there for your child, and here she come with all this yap, we've seen that men will just pretend like people don't exist, in order for them to continue living their life, because it's easier than the stress of fighting to be in that child's life, because you got to deal with the other parent. So I think she doesn't, and I think that weighs a toll on her too, and that manifested into her sleeping with her friend's father, for that fatherly affection. And the deeper part of that, essentially, she wanted to take their fathers away from them the way her father was taken away from her, so as much as she's not thinking deeply, she's really thinking deeply to hurt people, so they can feel what she feels. So
Miss Russia, I just wanted to make a comment about what you had said about, that sometimes that for fathers and whatnot who just don't want to deal with the other parent. And so it's just best to kind of, to forget about the kid. Not that anybody should do such a thing, but I can certainly understand if somebody decides it's not worth the trouble, it's not worth the aggravation that you are giving me. I love my children, but you're just making this harder than it has to be. I'm trying to recover from what happened between us. I'm trying to live my own life, and you're just bringing me hell. And unfortunately, it's the children that get lost in the shuffle because, and it doesn't always have to just be, the mom who's acting out. Sometimes it's the father who has the custody and he's acting out or whatever. So it's just very sad. But I definitely think that the children should keep an open mind when they get older. Maybe this wasn't that other person's fault. Let me examine it. It does seem like they left me, but maybe it's more than what they said it was.
Alicia, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Kyrie. I don't think that her father was a part of her life. I call them Santa Claus dads. They just want to come, drop off money, and see you when I see you. They feel as long as I'm doing this, giving you this cash or whatever, they feel that that's good enough parenting, probably because he doesn't want to deal with her mother. So yeah, I don't think she has a relationship with her father.
So in this chapter we talked about Erica's father. After reading all the hell that she went through, I think it's normal to be like, where is your daddy at? Like, somebody stop this, somebody step in, right? And then we read down a little bit and we find out that, to go a little bit deeper, because it didn't talk about that, but I'll tell you the mental state that I was in when I was creating Lucia. Lucia was madly in love with James. And what happened was, he was this extremely charismatic man. I mean, anything a woman could ask for, hope for, want, pray for, James was it. But the thing with James is, like, he's not a look at my brother. No, sir. James was not he's not a confrontational man. He's he's not the type of person who's aggressive or mean. He's very into being a giver and to give good, give big gifts and be lavish and be kind. And he's so debonair. He's so rico. He's so suave. Like, he's got it together. And he's one of those men who take the time to listen to a woman, and she feels seen, she feels heard, she feels understood. The problem with James is that everything could be beautiful today. We could be sitting on the shores of Hawaii watching the sunset. And then as soon as you get home, he would curb you. So essentially, that's what happened to Lucia. She met this man who, in a lot of ways for her, was like the savior himself. This was a man who was going to give her the life and heal her. And that's a whole nother topic right there. When people get into relationships and think that this wonderful partner is somehow going to heal them by loving them the correct way, that's really, really dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot. So we won't go down that road just yet. But what I'm saying is that Lucia had these hopes in James, that I finally found what I was supposed to have in life. All these terrible and horrible things happened to me, and God sent me this man, and he's going to make up for all those tears that I cried. He's going to make up for all that disappointment in my life. He's essentially going to be my husband. He's going to be my father. He's going to be my leader. He's going to be my protector. He's going to be everything that I've ever needed a man to be, without warning, without a negative conversation or fight. James was the type of person, he would take back whatever it is that he gave to you, all these wonderful promises, and just ignore you. There's no closure. I mean, of course, there's no text messages. There was none back then, but there was no phone call. There was no letter to explain that it's not you, that it's me, that I have my own problems. And so James gets to the point where he gets really deep with people and then he just retreats. He doesn't want to do it in a way where he's like, I'm going to be mean, I'm going to hurt you in my retreating from you. But he still just ups and removes himself. And James is the traveler, so you're not going to ever catch that fool on the street. Like, you're just not, because he'll be in Seattle, he'll be in Miami, he'll be in Puerto Rico. And so going back to, do I think that James is now parenting Erica the way that his mother and father parented him? Absolutely. And in the stories to come, like in the other chapters, you'll see that like James and his mother has this incredible relationship, and he goes back to Puerto Rico a couple times a year to be there, for his mom and his family. And he would even take Malia and her sisters to visit the abuela, right? However, anytime that Erica wanted to go, who stood in the way of that? Lucia. Lucia allowed her disappointment, her hurt, and her trauma to constantly put a wall between this man and his daughter. And James wasn't going to put up the fight. For James, it has to come easy, because if it doesn't come easy, I'm not fighting this fight. If you want to come with me, great, pack a bag. If not, I'll let you know how it went. You know what I mean? And so I think that James is dealing with his own emotional trauma. He doesn't really know how to be a father. His father wasn't there for him. He was raised on the crazy streets of Puerto Rico. And anybody who knows about Puerto Rico, that place gets rough, baby. Alicia, you know all about it. You got family over there. you know how it goes down. It's really rough over there. And so James is a hustler. And James is very cutthroat, but he's such a smooth criminal about it. He's not this aggressive, mean guy. James is very charismatic, very loving, but when he dips out, he dips out. Any questions? Okay, next question then.
Okay, so we can move on to the next question, which I have. The next question was, so Corenna, it seems like all of these chapters have a reoccurring theme of childhood and other traumas. Why is that?
I think in my effort to create Rose City, I wanted Rose City to be real in a lot of ways. And so a lot of it, again, I always say, this character is not based on me. I'm not her, okay? But Alicia, stop laughing. Y'all be always doing that to me. But no, she's not me. She's not me, though. But I will say that the characters in Rose City, they are real people in terms of the people that I know, in terms of like, I took bits and pieces. I have an older brother, not this one right here, but I have an older brother who I don't really talk to, but that's neither here nor there. He's James. You're never going to have a fight with him. You're everything's always going to be 100% beautiful, lovely. It's always going to be great, right? But he abandons people because that's what he knows to do. And maybe it's because he felt like he was abandoned that he has to abandon, right? So I wanted to make the characters feel real. So I took bits and I took pieces of different people's characters and like the people that I know from real life. And I'm like, oh, that'll be dope as like a person, or I love those traits. So I will just say, like, I've noticed, and I didn't even realize at the time, like, I started working on Rose City years ago. I said 2007 is when I first started writing this story. I can tell you that when I start to look back, and this was like an epiphany I had about 2 or 3 months ago, that I realized in a lot of the ways that Eva is extremely protective and outspoken to Malia, I started to realize that's how Kyrie is, right? And that's how Alicia is, right? So I took these elements of what I'm like, this is what a good best friend should be. And Wendy, which is another friend who we'll see in the future, and she's a little hood, she's a little spicy, she's a little classy, she brings it all together. And it was like, that's Alicia, you know? And I wanted these characters to feel real. And in making people feel real, you have to give real stories. And so in reality, life is not always beautiful. People have a lot of trauma. And I feel like that's what makes something powerful enough for you can connect with it, because you're like, these are real stories. Like this is real life behavior. So yes, I feel like there's a lot of childhood traumas, a lot of people going through it. I feel like even if you go through each chapter, you're like, why is something crazy always happening, right? But every time I talk to my two best friends, I call them up and I'm like, girl, guess what? You know what I mean? And they're like, oh my God. But it's like, isn't that real life though? Isn't there always something happening? If it's not one thing, then it's another. So I definitely feel like with this book, we wanted to dive in deep. We didn't want to be shallow. We wanted the characters to feel very, very well developed. And developing those characters and making them feel real means you got to bring the story. You got to bring the childhood traumas. You have to bring some of those negative aspects as well as the inspiring and the encouraging aspects of those characters' lives. You really want to make the person feel as authentic, as real as possible. And I feel like for most people that I know, like I haven't met one person who's like, I don't have any childhood traumas. Maybe they're not Erica's level of trauma, but I feel like most people have had to deal with some things growing up, even if you felt like your mother had favorites in her home, or even if you wondered why certain things looked a certain way and you didn't have this and somebody else had that. Everybody has a story, and I just wanted to make sure that we brought that into Rose City. What are your thoughts, ladies?
I I definitely wait, what was I gonna say? I'm losing my train of thought. Um, Dang, I had a perfect intro. But I definitely, trauma is the big bad word, everybody's afraid of nowadays, because then that means you might need therapy and you might need to talk about it, right? But the one thing that I really, really loved about Rose City is it's so real. It's what's going on. It's what everybody knows is happening, but nobody wants to talk about it, right? And Rose City offers us a moment to sit and reflect, like, dang, I know somebody that does this, does that. And oh, that's what I was going to say at the beginning of this. I think you are Malia, but in a different timeline. Not this one, but you are definitely tapped into Malia on a different timeline. That's what I was going to say. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, but yeah, like I love Rose City because it gives us a moment to sit. And then after we read these episodes, me and Corenna will get on the phone and then we just talk about how we have had these real life things happen to us. And it gives us a moment to sit and reflect and, connect and see where we have those traumas and, where we can relate and reflect. And, we've grown so much just connecting through this book. And that's why I really recommend it to people, because it's just such a like, wow, I know this situation. Either you've been there yourself or somebody else that has been in that, and it really helps you connect in a different way, and gives you perspectives, to see things through. And that's where this podcast came out, because it's like, we can talk about what happened in the book and relate that to real life issues. And that will open the floor for a conversation that we really need to be having with people, especially in our community where everybody's afraid. And this is a great entertaining way to kind of segue into these topics where, hey, we got to sit and talk about this, sis and brother, like, let's figure this junk out, so I really appreciate, Corenna just coming up with this. She had no idea what she was creating years ago, and it's just manifested into this something beautiful that, we're bringing forth, in this podcast, and hopefully being able to connect with you and other people, where we can really just sit and, dig up the roots of what's going on with us, as we travel with Malia and everybody else in Rose City, we can bring about some real healing in our own lives. So
I think that was so beautiful what you just said. And you're so good with words anyways. I just love you for that. But yeah, you just said so many things that really just like hit me here. Like she's talking real truth. And I think that I never anticipated a podcast from a book. Like that wasn't even a thing in 2017. 2007, excuse me. I'm getting myself all tongue tied. I do that sometimes. Okay. But yeah, in 2007, there was no such thing as podcast. I don't even know if YouTube was out at that point, right? So I was kind of just writing for hobby. But I wanted, as I was writing, I definitely wanted people to feel real. And I felt like some of the things, like I watch TV, and I think the four of us do this. We call each other on the phone and we're like, okay, did you watch that movie? Did you see that scene? And we break down the scenes and we're like, it could have given a little bit more, you know what I mean? Or that wasn't played well, or maybe that actress wasn't right for that role. Like we do this, like this is what we've always done our whole lives, and so this made sense to do this podcast and talk about the book, because there are parts of the book that you're like, well, why would she do that? Like there was a whole thing about like, Alicia and Kyrie were like, why did Malia just run out of the bathroom? She was assaulted. Why didn't she like do something? And I literally got phone calls from friends of mine who were like, why did you leave that like that? And I intentionally left it where she just kind of walked away from it, because I wanted people to reflect on what should have been done. How would you handle that? I didn't know we would sit down and have this conversation and be able to say, okay, this was my thought process. So I'm really grateful to have this platform and talk with you guys, all of you, to be able to help somebody else. And what came to me was that a lot of times when you're a certain person, when you come from certain families, when you have certain titles, certain things happen because of who you are forced to suppress a lot of the hell and the trauma that you've experienced, because you're being told you can't bring that shame on your family. You're going to start a whirlwind, sis. And so I think that by Malia pushing that away and not like dealing with that, telling Antonio your boy's tripping, go punch him in the face, something like that on my behalf, was because when women, I'm going to speak for Black women here, when Black women are traumatized, when bad things happen to us, there is a feeling in a sense that you have to protect everybody else. It's not just this trauma happened to me. Now I have to think about my parents. I got to think about my friends. I got to think about the society that I'm a part of, these groups. And if I say this against this man and him being a Black man at that, what's that going to do? Because people feel like you could have had a conversation in private and dealt with that. You didn't need to make that man look bad. So it's very, very layered when we talk about addressing our traumas, especially when it's at the hands of a man. If a woman does something to another woman, why is that okay for us to gossip and embellish that story or to tell the truth, right? But when there's a man involved in the dynamic of what Justin did attacking her in the bathroom, and then who he is and who they're all connected to, you feel forced to not speak up. Any thoughts, Alicia? Because I know you weren't here last week.
No, actually for that question, I just wanted to listen to everybody else's insight because I wasn't really sure how to answer that one. But after listening to everyone, I will say that for the most part, I agree with Corenna about, the characters, and she's pulling them from childhood, and yeah, I just wanted to listen to everyone else's insight for that particular question. I wasn't sure how to answer that one. But I think the next question actually is for me or us. But so the question is, what are your thoughts on therapy in the Black community? And have you or anyone sought help for their trauma? Okay, so my thoughts on therapy.
I was gonna say, Corbin, let's get started with you, but go ahead, Alicia. We'll get to you next.
Well, no, I'm gonna pass it on to Corbin next. So what I will say is, nowadays, like as of 2023, it's not as stigmatized as it was like when I was growing up, especially growing up in the church. If you had anything going, depression, anxiety, anything, it was the name of a demon. You had this spirit on you, as opposed to, no, this is a real, imbalance or whatever going on in my brain. I need help. I need therapy. I need, so right now, I'm noticing a lot more Black people getting help, and they're speaking out about it, and starting groups and support groups and even podcasts and stuff where people could sit and talk out what they're going through. And as far as sought help, yeah, that's a journey I'm on right now. seeking help for a lot of things that I went through, am going through. And yeah, it's and the clinic that I go to, I'm noticing there's a lot more Black people coming, men and women. So now I'm gonna pass it on to Corwin on your thoughts of therapy in the Black community, sir.
Thank you, Cuz. You know, honestly, I think it's very needed. As a matter of fact, I'm starting some myself. Truthfully, I always thought it was corny. I always thought it was hokey and whatnot for somebody to go lay on the couch and tell your business to a stranger. The problem is that I think by not seeking some kind of help, and even if you're just talking it out, I think it stops you from doing other stuff. You know, I know some people who I shall not name because it could be me, but there are days and whatnot that some people become so agitated with life that they are waiting for a stranger to say something out of line, just so they can pull out the hand and get physical. And I know that there was an incident of somebody back in December who this was happening to, that they were just going through it. He told me that he left his hand cannon at home that week because he just felt like if somebody said something to him that he was going to leak their brains out. So I think that by seeking help and by caring about the fact that you have issues and you have problems is important. I also think that it's a way for people to stop, to really not repeat the same stuff that happened to them. You know, as kids, things happen to us that we had no control over. And some of us hated it. I know that I did. So, but how do you get over what's happened to you? I mean, because it really can affect you in life. And to be honest with you, some of what's happened to me as a child has affected my decision as an adult, even though I didn't really think about it until now. I'm starting to put things together. Like I can see how there's like a connect the dots thing happening, and what it's done to me as an adult, how I view the world, how I view women and relationships. So, how I even view my children. So, it's something that's needed, and I think that we need more of it. But I do think that we need to also find more counselors of color, people that we can at least feel comfortable with, and we can say, hey, the white man did this to me last Thursday, bro. Instead of it being like, yeah, well, this individual did it to me. Sometimes you have to call it out because that's really how you feel. So, yeah, cuz I'm right with that action. How about you, Miss Russia?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said telling your business. That is the number one deviation in our community with seeking help, because we've been, you don't go and sit and tell nobody your business. How many times have we heard that all of our lives? Don't go telling your business. Don't talk to this person. Don't be talking to them too much. Talk about what we got it going on at home, because then, your family is going to be looked at a certain type of way. My background is, I'm adopted. And I think my mother, because she worked with foster kids and, children that were displaced from their families, she had more insight to what children need. And, I've been in therapy since I was a young age to help work through those challenges of being in foster care and being displaced from my family, and figuring out who I am in life and all that stuff. And, when I was younger, I was so afraid to speak up on how I really felt because I didn't want to offend the family that I was currently in, so I really wasn't able to be fully honest with how I felt, because of that stigma. You don't talk about your family. You don't talk about what your mom did or your dad did, because then that could come down on them, and it really keeps us in a place of still holding back. Even though you're seeking therapy to release and get help, you're still holding back. You're still not being honest. You're still not getting the help that you need. And as I've grown older and, did a lot of self-help and research and figuring out my own junk, because I was just afraid to open my mouth, I have found so much healing and just being able to talk my shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just get it out. And I really appreciate, Corenna, like, if I got something to say, I don't care how beautiful it is, I don't care how ugly it is, I don't care how I probably shouldn't say that, but she allows me the space to talk my shit. And it has been so healing. And I'm saying it that way for a reason, because I'm not a cusser, but I have found so much healing in just saying those choice words when I need to. Oh my goodness, like, because that anger and that rage gets built up inside of you. And sometimes you just gotta say those words, and it's just such for me anyway, it's such a release. Like, it's like, oh my God, like, is this what cussing does? Like, oh my God, and so, like, when I'm feeling what I want to feel, like, and there's time and a place, but just being able to just say those release words, oh my goodness, it has just been so incredibly amazing for me. May not be for everybody, but for me, I have found so much healing in saying a curse word or two when I'm feeling it, and just not being able to feel the fear and, oh, I can't say that because then they're gonna call my mama, and then they're gonna talk about my grandma, and they're gonna, it's just, your whole life gets torn apart if you say things that aren't appealing to other people, right? Especially when you're raised in a church family, but and I just really appreciate you, Corenna, because I was thinking about that this morning, and I'm just like, I was saying a few choice words yesterday when we were talking, and it's never any judgment. It's just like, yeah, girl, woo, and you be adding in your own choice words, you know what I'm saying? And we just be vibing out, and it's so refreshing because we're allowed to be who we are in each other's presence. Nobody's looking at you crazy. Nobody's looking at you, or what'd you just say, girl? Nobody's judging you. You're just allowed to breathe freely and be everything that you are, and that's what therapy is all about. And even if you don't sign up to go to a therapist, a practitioner, a life coach, or, find you somebody that you can be yourself around, that you can have that freedom. You can breathe clearly and freely and just talk your shit. I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care how it sounds. I don't care if it's, tell your grandma to plug her ears and go get that shit out. You got to do it. It's so healthy and healing, because when we hold that stuff in, it grows and it digs roots, and it'll turn you into somebody that you don't want to be, and I've been in that ugly place, and I'm so happy that, I found my way out of that. And, I've had beautiful friends in my life to help me, find the light, into that, where I'm fully living and thriving now, and being free. And I still have people that love me. So I don't care what your ugly looks like. Find somebody that you can share that ugliness with, so you can find yourself again. So.
That's so beautiful. I'm just like, I want to cry. My girl out here, honey, she's healed and living her best life. But I will say, as much as I've helped you, you've actually helped me, because all four of us here, come from very deeply religious Black Christian families. And that's not always the easiest thing to navigate, as, hellfire and brimstone is some real stuff. And so, like Alicia was saying, as a kid, like, when we would experience things, it was always the devil, demons. And it's like, and I understand, like, where that is coming from, but we also have to look at other avenues of supporting people. Like, I remember being a little girl, and I would be like 5 or 6 years old, and I would just cry, and I would just be so hurt, and I would be like, Mommy, I'm just sad, like, I'm hurt. And my mom's like, you just let the devil use you, girl. And and she would just, like, there would be times I get popped in the head, like, just stop it. You just let the devil use you. Instead of her being like, well, baby, what's wrong? Like, like, let me put you in my arms and hug you and rock you. Like, you're going to be okay. And it's like, now, as a woman in my mid-30s, my mother's looking back at her life and saying, I think I was dealing with depression and I didn't see it. She didn't even recognize that she was dealing with depression in herself. So if she didn't see it, she definitely didn't recognize it from a 5, 6-year-old child. You know what I mean? And then being from, like, big families and stuff like that, it's easy to be ignored, And so we went through it. But I would say, like, it's been very liberating and empowering for me to be able to go to my girls. Like I call Alicia and Kyrie literally almost daily, and I don't care what I say. I talk reckless. I get crazy with my girls, and they like, yeah, girl, like they hype me up. If I'm wrong, they're gonna be like, Corenna, let's dig into that, right? But it's never in a judgmental place. It's always in love, and so as much as I've helped you, Kyrie, you've helped me because there were people in my life that I needed to disconnect from, and I didn't know how, especially when it's family. There are people in my family, I'm not even going to mention any names, but you know who you are if you're watching. Mm-hmm. Right. Treating people poorly, walking on people, disrespecting people, and thinking that put up with it because I can, because I'm your older sibling. And it was just like, I would call her and I would just be so frustrated. She's like, cut them off. And I'd be like, can't cut my relatives off. I can't do it. And a moment that changed everything is when she told me she wasn't going to be going to somebody's funeral. And I was like, but that's going to cause a problem. And she was like, okay, I'm going to send a card. And I was like, wow. Like, that was mind blowing to me because coming from the families that we come from, image is everything. You go to stuff that you don't want to go to. You go to stuff that you know that they don't even want you there. But because of your last name, it means that you have to be in that room. You have to represent for your family regardless. And I saw her choose self-love over some crazy duty of loyalty and last name. I saw her be like, I'm gonna choose me because y'all not gonna mess me up today. Like that's not okay. And so I loved it. I loved just seeing her growth and her healing in her own life because it helped me to grow. It helped me to heal. And I love being able to like talk to Alicia because we can get wild too together. And it's always like, just be yourself. And even when I think I'm at my ugliest moments, she's like, that's valid. She's like, that's valid, you know, right? And I have struggled with knowing I need to go to counseling and then being like, I can't, right? And my girls have gotten me to a place where I'm like, I can do this, right? Because again, keep people out your business. Don't talk about what's going on at home. Don't tell them people. You know who them people are, right? Constantly being told that in our community that there was a fear that was like instilled in us as children. If you go and tell those people what's going on, or I said this, or blah 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 blah, the state coming in here and they're gonna take everybody. Like that was a real fear that they gonna come in here, wipe out the kids because you didn't tell that mama spanks you, or you get called dumb when she gets mad, right? Or dad or whatever. And so you learn to bottle those things up and you don't get the help that you need. Have I gone to therapy? I had a couple sessions and the lady was really nice. And like I told my girls, I said the problem that I had was that there was like a wall that went up for me that I couldn't get past with her. And it wasn't her, she was amazing. But what I recognized and I realized for me to fully feel comfortable, for me to fully feel, and this is not for everybody, I'm saying this is just for me to fully feel comfortable, I need to see a woman who looks like me. I need to be in counseling with a woman who's Black, who looks like me, who has had lived experiences like myself. So when I'm telling you the things that I'm experiencing, you're not like, oh yeah, that's just that person being weird. And it's like, no, 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 sis. It's so much deeper than just people being weird. Some of this stuff is really systematic racism that people operate in and they don't even recognize it or understand it. I've been in stores being followed around by every employee, you know what I mean? While I'm up at Marshall's or whoever trying to get something. And there are other people in the store who were literally robbing the store blind. There were two white men who took out full baskets of clothes and backpacks and shoes. They didn't even run out the store. They walked out very calmly as the bells and whistles went off. And I'm thinking, but y'all was following me. And I'm talking about this just happened like in September, like back to school stuff. And I'm like, but I was the person in the store that y'all had to keep walking past, dusting things and moving things around, letting me know that you saw me. I'm not here to steal. I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? But it's that type of trauma that I need to experience that with a woman who looks like me. And particularly, it has to be a woman. I know men therapists are great and all, but I need to be talking to a seasoned Black woman who's a therapist, counselor, whatever. I need that because I know that she's going to be able to understand me on levels and she'll be able to speak to that trauma that I have and tell me even about personal experiences that maybe she's had and how she worked on healing herself from that. I definitely think that I'm just talking, but anyway, I think that therapy is needed in the Black community. I'm glad that it's more people talking more about it, and it's not a situation where it's like it's so hush hush like it used to be. So I'm glad more people are getting the help because this foolishness of not getting the help and the support that you needed. Just pray about it. Pray hard. I prayed hard and it made me feel like God didn't like me. You know what I mean? And that wasn't the truth. That was so far from the truth. God put these people on the planet, to know how to help other people. And I believe that religion is a powerful thing and it can be very helpful. But I also think if you talk to a therapist, that's really helpful too. You know what I mean? Like, let's not throw that away for religion or throw religion away for that. We can have some balance. That's my skill. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in this week. That's all for this week's episode. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion on episode 5. Please do not forget to tune in next week when we will be diving into episode 6. If you haven't already read it, what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and do it. It's getting crazy. The first 3 episodes are free on the Kindle Vella app. So there's really no reason or excuse for you not to be watching and listening to the stories and being with us, okay? So I'm sure you'll be hooked on the book. I know we all are. So new episodes are being published every week. So be on the lookout for that. We love hearing from our readers. So please add your thoughts and your questions and comments and theories down below. And we will be answering those things as well. Hit us up on Rose City, the After Show on Facebook. All links will be provided in the description. Thanks for tuning in and we'll see you again next week. Thanks for the sponsors that we have on here with their products. And we just love what they're doing, support their businesses. And thank you. And we'll see you again next week.